No doubt about it, Coach. You got one sitting right next to you, Dean Cunning, of course. He's with Salisbury North now, was with Port Adelaide before that. Dean, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, now lots of things been happening in your life, mate. I suppose the most interesting one, your immune system, how that all broke down and how you got back to playing footy. I mean, it's a great story for us, obviously, because you're back playing. It's a good story for you, but not too good to go through it to get to that stage.
Yeah, certainly it's been a sort of a process, basically. Obviously, going through medication, and I've finally can see myself sort of getting back and playing footy, which I'm very pleased.
So, Dean, when did the problems first start for you, health-wise?
Going back about probably now 5-6 months ago, I was training every session, and for some apparent reason, I just started to feel really fatigued. I just couldn't keep up with the guys, and sort of got a little bit depressed in myself. So I asked Mark Tyler if I could take a couple of weeks off.
That's your coach?
That is, yeah. And fortunate I did take the time off. I started to blow up with inflammation, swelling of all joints, my hands. About 3 weeks later, I went back to the hospital, and it turned out that I'd had a real rare disease. I'm probably 1 in a million.
1 in a million. Now, what would have been the consequences had the doctors at the hospital not correctly diagnosed what your problem was?
It's probably, they explained to me that after a period of time, it was it's the inflammation of your small and medium blood vessels. Yeah. And they would eventually attack my own body.
And you would have died?
I would have died, yeah. So without treatment too.
As the general put it, it is a remarkable story that you've made your way back.
I am.
What was the disease called? What do you actually suffer?
It's called Wagner's granulomatosis.
What was that again?
Yeah.
You got to have it for 5 months to learn how to say it, Coach.
That's right. just to get your head around it all. No, it's definitely it's very rare. It's
do you know what causes it?
There's no genetic reason why I've contracted this disease. No. Basically, my immune system was so high, I hadn't been sick in years, and all of a sudden I came down with my appendix probably 2 months prior. They can say that it can be the smallest infection, that your body thinks that there's an infection there, it needs to obviously clear it up. And they've taken my appendix out, my body's gone haywire, and thought that my lungs and kidneys were infections.
So you had to go into isolation too, and your wife, was she pregnant at the time? You got a 1-year-old daughter, so a good time to go into isolation, so you don't have to do too much. But was that a tough period for you?
Oh, it was. I mean, anyone that the initial stages was great because I had so much support from my football teammates, my family, all friends. But after you go 5-6 weeks of being in isolation, where you physically can't go to a shopping centre, you've got to, can't go out to, catch up with the guys at the footy club.
Where did you stay? Where were you isolated?
I stayed home. Work was supportive. I just worked from home on the laptop and.
So you went in hospital. You're allowed to go home.
Was discharged from hospital probably after a week of pretty heavy medication, and I went home and stayed home for about a month in isolation.
So where did your pregnant wife and
it was actually it's pretty ironic actually that I was diagnosed with the disease, and my wife Julie was she ended up telling me that she's pregnant. So with our second child.
Well, we won't go into that. We know how that one works. Yeah. But the immune system itself, I mean, it breaks down and then your kidneys start to shut down. So there's a whole lot of complications for you, isn't there?
Yeah, it is. I'm fortunate that I was still training because if the disease hits somebody that's not doing any physical activity, what will basically happen is by the time they're so fatigued, their kidneys has had so much damage, they're on dialysis. So I was lucky that I was going through pre-season. I knew there was something wasn't right.
How crook were you? How crook did you actually feel?
Well,
like we get colds, we get the flu and so forth, but can you describe how crook you were?
Yeah, well, I had to the point of I had so much inflammation on my hands, my elbows, my shoulders. I physically couldn't move.
Couldn't move?
And it wasn't until I started coughing up lots of blood.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry to...
Yeah, I thought something might be wrong.
Yeah, well, I was like every male that's stubborn and thinks that there's nothing wrong with them until, you're so prolonged that I have to do something about it. And my wife seen, she sort of looked and seen that this blood was pretty severe and said, no, that's it. We were not leaving the hospital until they diagnosed me. So
now, Dean, I mean, you've gone through a stage where you're thinking, firstly, are you going to survive? So footy's not the first thing on your mind. So, you can't believe it's happened to you. You can't believe that now your wife's pregnant, you've got a kid. So you certainly don't want to go to the other side. So you're fighting to stay here. Was there a time where you thought, gone through that period to now the footy side of things where you thought, gee, I wonder if I'll ever be able to put the Salisbury jumper on again. Can I get the Salisbury North jumper on and run out?
Oh yeah, it is definitely the initial stages. Football just completely was forgotten altogether. I did, like, I have had tears in my eyes because I had my little daughter there that's who was 2 weeks away from her first birthday, and everything gets put into perspective. I mean, it's no matter you've got the support there, but you just want to make sure that you're around. For tomorrow.
How was your family through all this? They would have been devastated. Your family.
Oh, my dad's a bit of a skeptic as well. He's still concerned at the moment.
Is he?
Yeah, he's. I think he's making sure that he believes that I'm in remission, and he's heard that from the specialist.
So you can contract it again.
Oh, definitely. I will now, for probably the rest of my life, have regular blood tests and just make sure the disease is not active again. So
do they know what caused the disease? Do they know what sets it off, or it's
a lot of case studies. The disease is so rare that, for instance, out of the trial that I am worldwide, there's only 93 patients that are participating in the trial.
You're joking.
Okay. So there's a lot of autoimmune diseases like Crohn's disease.
Yep.
I even heard the other day, I think Harry Kill had an autoimmune disease.
So how lucky were you the doctors were able to, getting a disease so rare, how lucky were you that the doctors were able to diagnose it so quickly?
Well, there's only a few specialists here in Adelaide, and I was when they looked and realised that I had a real active disease, straight away the Royal Adelaide Hospital were great. Dr. Stephen McDonald, he's been fantastic. He's basically keeping it all under control. And the first 5 weeks of responding to medication, there was no guarantee that I was going to respond to it either. And that sort of scared my family.
Was there a chance you may have lost your arm or because of the inflammation?
It would have got to the stage where you have 3 or 4 months to live if I didn't respond to treatment. So.